Hello again, and welcome back to MTG Finance Live, How to Buy a Collection Part 2. I'm Kelly, he's Doug, and
Hi
we're going
there.
to dive right back into where we left off last time.
So, as a recap, if you didn't tune in last time, Kelly had purchased a modern collection from a buddy of his a while back, and we talked about how he thought of whether he should buy it or not, and how he set a fair price for himself and his friend, and what he plans to do with the collection now, especially regarding whether you buy the whole collection, keep the high-end stuff and sell the low-end stuff, whether you sell it all, whether you sell the high-end stuff to get easy money back and then start trickling out and selling the other stuff slower. So a lot that there was there. Last time, you can check out the archive. It's on YouTube. Kelly, where can people find the archive of the last video?
The archive is on YouTube, and our username right now is Kelly Reid, which is my
It's
name.
KELLYREID, one word. We'll soon be switching over to Quiet Speculations official YouTube here. But that's where you'll be able to find it for now.
And if you subscribe to us on YouTube, you will get notified when we post the archives of these.
Okay, so I got a message in Twitch that I was a little louder than other people, so I think have we fixed it? Twitch,
I turned my mic up a little bit as well.
Okay. I'm just a loud human being in general. The name that my brother gave me when I was a kid was Baby Loud, and I don't think I'm proud of that.
Yeah.
So,
anyway, yeah. We're still learning this format and experimenting with it, so any feedback you guys have like that's very helpful. Anyway,
yeah, so
onward.
Let's dive right in. So, Kelly, one question for you. You had mentioned to me, we chatted a little bit before, you mentioned to me that you had learned something, which was that if you see a good buy list price, immediately sell to it. Tell us more about your bad experience and what you've learned.
Okay, so I learned this the hard way. I think I paid about $100 to learn this lesson. I went to the shop last Sunday, and I traded some stuff like Dark Confidant and Cryptic Command, I believe 2 of each, and I just got a stack of like 100 cards in return. And a lot of these cards I picked by sorting by spread in Trader Tools and targeting them because when my counterparty looked them up on TCG Player, he would see a number that he thought was reasonable, and then I knew I could get a similar number in cash. So we're talking about spreads less than 20%. Also cards that buy list for at least 50 cents. So what I did was I traded for a whole stack of these things, making sure that the buy list price of those exceeded the buy list of what I was giving him, but the TCG mids were kind of on par. That's kind of my MO for how I like to trade this kind of collection out. But what happened was I got home and I didn't sell the cards immediately. So
you had cards, you had purchased cards thinking that you'd get a certain amount of money from a buy list, and now what happened?
Well, I waited, and I took some time to sort them and box them up and put stuff into my binders, and normally I was like, yeah, a couple days won't kill me. Like, probably 10 cards dropped significantly in buy lists. Like, the ones that were really sweet, where the spreads were sweet, other people snapped those up. Other people sold, like, Grim Haruspecs for 50 cents, which now I might be able to get as a bulk rare. Other end, I missed out on a buy price of $3. Now it's half of that. Atheros God of Passage was something like $7.50 when it only retails for $9. Now it's down to $6.50. Pearl Lake Ancient was buy listing for $2. Now it's buy listing for $1. So I just kept getting hit and hit and hit on these. So what I'm doing now is I'm sending in small buy list orders throughout the day, and it's kind of a pain because you have to print out multiple sheets when you mail them in, but it makes sure that you always get the price you're trading for a card at. And when you're trying to convert things into cash and avoid taking a big percentage hit, like that, it really adds up quickly. Like I said, I probably lost $100 of value by waiting 36 hours, tops.
So what's your policy now to make sure you get the best price on these cards going forward with buy lists?
So step 1 is I target cards with the narrow spread, as I discussed. Right here, I've got the list sorted. You can see it in the stream right now by the cards with the smallest spread. Those are actually cards I own that I want to keep because I can easily cash them out. When I sort by reverse, the widest spreads, you can see like Butcher of the Horde sells for about $1, retails for $3. So I want to trade Butcher of the Horde away at $3, and I want to get cards with like a 20% or less spread in return, where the TCG player prices are fairly close together. Again, so my trading partner feels good about it. I look through sets, and I sort them by spread. I sort them by, or I filter them, I should say, by minimum buy price. I don't want to deal with anything that doesn't buy list for at least 50 cents. And I don't want anything that has a spread wider than 30%. So,
and how frequently do you check these prices?
It depends how often you go to the card shop, but it's really quick to check it every day if you're that active. I definitely check it the hour before I leave to go trade. And then throughout the week, just I'll kind of refresh my knowledge. And there's about probably 25 cards in Standard at any given time that will meet this criteria.
So if somebody's using Trader Tools, they can, since the system updates at least once every hour on cards, they can check it every day to see if there's a card that spikes up in the buy list price that suddenly becomes very desirable. And they can snap
absolutely.
it.
And I'm actually going to pull up the list I made before I went to the card shop yesterday. I actually ended up not getting to do a single trade because I was playing with the Modern deck I bought. But I made this list in anticipation. And what this is, I went through every set in Standard and a bunch of the recent box sets like Commander and things like that. Those box sets always have weird prices. You just know they're like magical Christmas land sometimes because dealers want to complete those sets, and so they're often willing to overpay. So what I have right here is a list of, well, it says 221 cards because I put in quantities, but 35 different cards from those sets that have, on average, about a 20% spread. So in the stream here, you can go ahead and see I've sorted them. There's some really weird stuff, like from Conspiracy. You've got cards that buy list for 50 cents that have a TCG min of 30 cents. So if you see those in somebody's binder, just go ahead and offer a quarter on them, and they're going to say yes. They're going to be happy to get rid of that card, and congratulations, you just made a few extra bucks by piling those up. These are also cards that people don't care about. Like, I mean, okay, Dak Faden, people care about that. But Strionic Resonator, no one cares. Riddle Keeper, no one cares. You can trade for these cards at retail prices, and you're making money.
So you are learning that you have to sell into buy lists more quickly, that you have to check up on these prices. How did you get did you have to enter all this list of stuff into Trader Tools when you had first gotten it, or how did you get all that stuff in?
So the cards I acquired, my buddy sent me an Excel spreadsheet, and I actually used a new feature of Trader Tools which can import from Excel. I just made sure it was formatted the right way. Card name, set name, quantity, foil, and Trader Tools corrected for errors in spelling and things like that, and then it just dumped them all into a list. From there, I cherry-picked the list of cards that looked good with all the criteria I talked about just a minute ago, you know, the spread or lack thereof, things like that. Removed the cards from the list that I didn't want to buy, and then picked through his collection for the cards that remained on the list. In addition, he had like a bulk box, probably about 800 cards that I flipped through, mostly playables. I figured I'd get 20 bucks out of it, and just mentally accounted for that. So I just made sure that the buy list prices I was looking at on the screen were... He knew he was going to get buy list prices, I should be clear. Like, he's a friend of mine, he knows what it is I'm doing. But I had to make sure that I still made my margins because he's obviously not going to sell to 5 different buy lists. I have no problem doing that.
So let me ask you another question. Let me ask you another question here. If you have foils or foreign cards, what would you be doing with those? Let's start with foils.
Foils, I will generally buy list. If they don't buy list, they can be bulked out for a nickel maybe. But again, I will use Trader Tools. Trader Tools pulls foil buy list prices. Like ABU Games often has some great prices on foils, and I will almost always just liquidate them because they're not going to trade ever.
You know, and the thing about the buy list aggregator with Trader Tools, what I have found very useful about it is that some cards, you know, you look up a foil and one store wants it, and another one kind of wants it. So you notice that there's a huge price discrepancy between two foils, and it's pretty incredible. I'm looking at like Sisay's ring foil. When Troll and Toad wants a Sisay's ring, which is rarely, they'll pay $15 for it. The next runner-up is only $6.50, and the next one after that is $4.85. So if you're looking at only one buy list to find the price of a card, especially a rare foil, you end up really cutting yourself out of a lot of money. Whereas you really see this shine when it comes to foils because stores aren't as efficient on how they want to price those.
Yeah, absolutely. And even right now, a 7th edition foil Sisay's ring is selling for, looks like $6.50. I have it up on the stream right now. Also, that's because 7th edition foils are super rare. I don't actually think I've ever seen a non-foil version of this Sisay's ring, let alone a foil one. So yeah, having multiple buy lists that you can access, I figure it's worth at least 25% margin on every deal you do, just by virtue of the fact that you know more than the other guy.
And here's an example too. Here's another one. Goblin Matron. If you happen to have a Minty Fresh foil one, Strike Zone will take it. Minty Fresh being the keyword. Strike Zone doesn't want anything if it so much as seeing the world outside of a sleeve, but they're paying $85 for it. Your next runner-up is ABU Games, which is only paying $66. So you're looking at a difference of almost $20 if you only go with one buy list, and that's where I think that this really shines.
Yeah, I mean, I built the tool because I used to sell a tremendous volume of cards, and alt-tabbing between 5 vendors and trying to remember just took hours. And one day I timed it. Trader Tools made the process 33 times faster. Not percent, times. So I was really glad to have that tool when I was moving a lot of volume, and now it's really, no matter how much volume you move, it's really indispensable. It makes the process of trading and liquidating your cards so much faster than anything I've ever used before.
And I think that's when you're looking through a collection, you can even pick up the foils. If somebody sends you a list of foils, or they send you a crummy smartphone photograph, you can pull up the price of the foils and very quickly price them out. So I like that about it. I think foreign cards are very hard to move. Even Japanese cards don't really command the premium that they used to in non-foil. And it's interesting. I think the only way to get rid of them at a decent price is eBay. Because if you're a store, you can put things up on your own site. I know Cape Deer Games has a lot of foreign cards listed. I know because I buy them now and then. But it's very hard to get rid of those cards otherwise. Like if you have a Korean, let's say a Korean capsize, it's very hard to find somebody who wants those if it's in your trade binder. So those are the things, I think eBay is the sales place of last resort. And that's where I point to that.
The fees are huge, but,
there are enough
liquidity is liquidity. 15% of nothing is,
Yeah. There are people who have filters set up on eBay for things like MTG Korean Fourth.
Yeah.
If there's something that they want, or MTG Korean Stronghold, if there's something that they want, it hits a filter and alerts them. So at least you get to tap into that pre-existing network. But I haven't found a store yet that wants to buy foreign cards, even Japanese ones.
I'm actually looking. I think ABU Games is actually buying them right now. I'm double checking on that, but yeah, even still, it's really hard to move foreign stuff. What I do, and this is a segue into another topic I want to talk about, is anything that I can't immediately turn around, or that I don't think I can trade within the next 2 to 3 weeks in my binder. That something that's less than $1, that's going to take effort to move. I'm going to throw it in like a long box, like a 1,000-count box that I keep in my backpack whenever I go to the shop, and I'm going to let people treasure hunt in there. I let people pick through it, and I kind of almost let them name their own price, because I don't care what I get for these cards. I just want them gone. I just want some value in return. So, for example, I have a box with a bunch of Return to Ravnica playable uncommons. They're in that weird spot where they haven't appreciated yet because they're old, but they're irrelevant because they've just rotated out of standard. But there's like Azorius charms in there, and if someone wants to trade me a few bulk rares for an Azorius charm, that's great. Gone. Done. No effort. I'll just bulk the rares later. Or if they want to trade me a $5 card for a stack of random commons, great. Just get rid of them. And that's what I'll do with foreign cards too, because you know when you find the one guy who loves Japanese cards or Korean cards or Chinese cards, he'll take a whole stack off your hands, and whatever you get in return is just gravy.
Yeah, we also had a Twitch listener bring up that you can sell cards in foreign cards like that in Facebook groups that are dedicated to it.
Totally.
Yeah, there are people who definitely want to do that and who want to get their rarities in their foreign cards. I'm thinking of the stuff like, for example, I had looked up Japanese 4th edition Circle of Protection Red, which I think is one of the best looking ones. The red on it is especially intense. Those are like $2.50, as in $2.50. And I don't know if you're going to have people who even want to go through the bother of buying a low-end card like that.
Is it black or white border?
Oh, these are black bordered.
Oh.
Yeah, so they look very nice. But I think for the stuff $5 and above, that's probably a good place. Kelly, you're bringing up that sweet spot area, and I looked up War Leader's Helix as a foil, and that sells for only 11 cents to buy list. That's one of those cards that you look at and you think that, this is going to be a card that people will want. It's not modern playable, especially with Lightning Helix in the format, but that's a card that people are going to want to put into their uncommon cubes. It might make the cut in their rare cubes because it's another red-white card that's playable for that combination when you're building a cube.
So those are a powerful card that no one's buying.
Somebody was only offering me 11 cents for War Leader's Helix right now as a foil. I would tell them to come back in 2 years and tell me that again.
Yeah, the non-foil retails for almost $50, so that's just not even something I'm interested in. So, certain foils like that, I will throw in a box that just says, forget about me for 12 months. That's... Yeah. If I have no cost on it, especially. If I just got it as part of a collection, gone. Just forget about it for a year and hope that I turn a profit on it, and if I don't, I don't. Whatever. You can always just bulk it for 5 cents.
So are there things in there? You had told me that you had wanted to keep the set of Shocklands in there and that you had wanted to keep the modern blue-red Delver deck that you had. Is there anything, are you hearing the siren song of any other cards in there saying, maybe you should hold on to me?
Yeah, I'm going to pull up the original list again here, but definitely. Abrupt Decay. Retails for almost 12, buy lists for 7, and barring a reprint, which is not out of the question in, say, a Modern Masters 2 or anything really, buying a reprint, I think that card has a lot more upside on the buy list. I don't know, I have no model in my head for what the sell max is, but I feel like the buy list has at least a few more dollars to run. Also, stuff like that, if I can trade it out at retail, if I can sell them at TCG Player Mid without paying fees, yeah, sure, I'll do that. But really, it's the stuff with the crummy spreads that I want to hold on to.
So here's another question too. You had mentioned when we were doing prep for the show about whether you were going to hold on to a set of 4 Dark Confidants or whether you were going to trade them into standard cards that you can get rid of more easily. What's your thought process, and have you reached a conclusion?
I traded away 2 last weekend. I've pulled up Confidant here on the stream, and I had the presence of mind. I actually did this on my smartphone with Trader Tools. I made a list of all the things that I traded for and traded away. I traded away 2 Confidants, 2 Cryptic Commands. And that list is loading up right now. And so the rationale here is the guy really wanted them. And he had a ton of low-end stuff that I was willing to pick up. Now, I should say, part of this was me wanting to experiment with kind of wanting to keep them, but kind of not. I could have buy listed the Confidants for $60, which isn't bad. That's a sub-30 spread, and I think that I want to say I paid $50 for them. So I'll take it. And the reason I bought the Confidants in the first place is because they were an easy $10 quick flip. 4 cards, $40 profit. It doesn't, percentages weren't great, but the raw margin was there. So don't forget to look at both of those things. So I've got the list up now in Trader Tools. The most valuable thing I got was 2 Caverns of Souls. Those buy lists for 13, sell for 17, and I actually did end up buy listing those. I did kind of want to keep them because they're high end, they're unique, but I don't see many decks in Modern running them, nor do I anticipate they will. I also got some Planeswalkers, Xenagos, Elspeth, and then I got a bunch of these like $10 modern cards like Serra Ascendant that I just don't know why they're so expensive, and I don't like it. I don't trust those prices. So I'm
Yeah,
going
so
to.
here's the thing that you're bringing up too when you say that is, and this is what you talked about before, also about passing on cards that you weren't sure about. Some people, when they buy a collection or they're looking to trade for stuff, they may be speculating on what it's worth. They may be speculating on its future value. You look at a card like Serra Ascendant or Serra Avenger, both of those come to mind actually. Cards that see niche modern play, and you say, I don't really understand why this is so expensive. This is also a candidate for a reprint because they have the word Serra in them, for if for nothing else, as a reprint in a promotional set. And if that's kind of the Warren Buffett idea of I don't invest in things I don't understand.
I was about to say exactly the same thing. I don't get it. I don't want to mess with it. I don't trust it, and even though the spread in here is 44%, man, I have no hope of selling that for TCG mid. I have no hope trading that for TCG mid. I do know I can reinvest that $7 much more easily. Another thing I do real quick that I should have mentioned earlier, I don't just check TCG mid, because that represents an average of prices before the 10 to 15% fee. What I'll do is I'll also check cards on eBay, completed listings, and mentally deduct the fee from that as well, also 15%. So I say, how much would I really get on eBay for this? And if it's less than a 10% hit that I'll take from buy listing it, accounting for fees and everything, I'll just blow it out. Like, my time is worth a non-zero amount.
Yeah.
Other cards that I have that sung to me. So this is a weird one. Marquesa the Black Rose, a mythic from Conspiracy. The spread on that is ridiculously narrow.
Interesting.
And I should say, I buy listed one, and then I looked again and I said, you know what? With the spread that narrow, I should buy list another one. But it seems really powerful. It's a 3-color Commander General, and it looks like a really broken card in hindsight. But be that as it may, I'm not really in the business of sitting on every card to make a few margin points. I'm remembering the interview you did on Insider Stories with Kyle Lopez, who said he's in the business of transactions. And actually, a long time ago, I talked to one of Troll and Toad's head buyers, and I asked him for advice, and he said, man, I got 3 words for you. Transactions, transactions, and transactions. He'd rather make a little bit of margin many times than sit on a bunch of cards and have a bunch of profits on paper, and now he's got all this money tied up in cards that he can't use to reinvest and flip.
So here's the thing also about the Commander cards and the Conspiracy cards. Conspiracy in particular, unlikely to get reprinted really ever. Maybe in another Conspiracy set, but you're not going to see something like Marchesa come back because they're going to want to put another interesting general in the Grixis colors. So, if you're looking for a card to speculate on, here's a hot tip. We really like Foil Cogwork Librarian. It's about $4. It's one of those cards where you're betting on the popularity of Cube. Cube has now been allowed as a, I believe, semi-official, somewhat sanctioned Friday Night Magic event to where you can actually make Cube FNMs if your store is that crazy. And a card like Cogwork Librarian is in foil will be a relevant card. It could go from $4 to $10, and you could see easy success. But that's the kind of card that I look at where if you want to buy something and put it in a box for a year, that's the kind of card I'm looking at.
Absolutely.
Like very low chance of getting reprinted. Has a very easily articulated value to it and use case.
I completely agree with you. So on the stream here, I've got the list of cards that I'm going to return to the Confidant trade to answer your question in a really roundabout fashion. I've got the list sorted by spread. Marquesa is actually the narrowest spread on that list. I feel like this actually wasn't a great trade in hindsight because there's a lot of cards on this that have wide spreads. Now, I should mention, I've sold a lot of cards from this trade, so this list doesn't represent what I paid for those cards. But it's a good approximation. You can see here at the bottom, I believe the buy list on this was like $275 when I traded for it, so that should give you a sense of how quickly the market moves. But retail, $375. Now, I don't have the Confidant and the Cryptic in front of me, but I won to the tune of about $80 on this trade. And the trouble is it took me the better part of 2 hours to complete it, which was fine, but now I have to spend another hour buy listing these cards. So I'm of two minds. First says, you got a bunch of cards, you're going to make a profit on them. Second says, would you have been better off trading those cards, or buy listing those big cards and saving the time? I always like diversifying inventory. I've still got two Bobs. I've still got two Cryptics. And if I want to trade them, really one of each would be enough. I don't want to sit on them for upside because anything with Modern that gets that expensive, I live in fear of the looming specter of the reprint. So I wanted those gone as quickly as possible when I bought them. But they still had that allure to me, like, hey, these are high-end, man, keep them. People are going to be impressed when they look at your binder. That's not what you're trying to do. You're not trying to impress people, you're trying to turn cards.
Yeah.
Here's a gem, Hooded Hydra from Cons. From Cons. I always confuse it with Genesis Hydra. I picked up 6 of these at $1 each in trade because people are usually willing to wiggle room with you when you're trading crap mythics into modern staples. But I buy listed all 6 of these for $1.50 each. That was a big portion of the win on this trade, for sure. Mm-hmm. Like, low to mid-tier mythics are a great target because most people don't care about them or want them, and they're already disappointed that they opened a crappy mythic instead of a Sarkhan.
Mm-hmm.
I got a comment in chat here that says Foil Marquesa is a $90 card. I believe it.
I believe it too. You know, I was looking up the other interesting conspiracy cards to buy and sit on. Lore Seeker in foil is an incredibly expensive card.
Lore Seeker? Really?
Yeah, it buy lists for $32. So it's the boat has sailed on that one. And I think that was as soon as that was spoiled, people had known that Lore Seeker would have been one of the chase cards to grab. But
I'll tell you, I did not realize that this card existed. I just overlooked it, and I can totally see why that's so expensive.
Yeah.
Now, if you're looking at the stream here and you're wondering why the price on screen is different than the one Doug just quoted you, we can configure which merchants we do and don't have enabled in Trader Tools. So he has merchants enabled that I don't, and vice versa. Just a matter of personal preference here.
Mm-hmm. And that's another level of customization you can do. You know, the median price for foil is $50 on a Lore Seeker, and people are paying it.
Wow.
You can buy Near Mint foil from Standstill Games for $35, shipping included. What a great deal! Rating 100%. I have no idea who these guys are, but that sounds like a pretty good deal at $35 on account of that you can sell it for $32 and turn around and do it right there. Yeah. So there may be a moment for arbitrage there for listeners who are quick on that.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy the card to have it, or to sit on it for upside, or to play with it, or for whatever reason, you know that you've really only got $3 invested in it. Like, you're only going to lose $3 by buying it. I mean, sure, the buy list could change anytime, but you have a sense of where the ceiling and the floor is.
So I think that when you're looking at a card that you look at a cost basis, to speak in tax terms, you look at the cost basis and you see where a card is in a collection that you bought, where it might actually end up cost you a whole lot less to get, versus a card that you may have put $3 in, it may be worth $33. You may have bought it for $36.
Yeah.
You may not be as interested in getting the profits out of the card with a high cost basis, whereas if you got that same card for $18 and you're selling it for $36, that's where we say that one of the QS maxims is do not be greedy.
Yeah.
Because greedy people get punished by Wizards because Wizards reprint stuff. There are people out there who are greedily hoarding Aven Mind Sensors because it's gone up so much, and they are going to get blown out by the inevitable reprint.
Yeah, transactions, man. Just turn those cards over. If you're going to use them, that's fine. But if you don't think you're going to use them in the next 6 months, sell them. And if they appreciate and don't get reprinted, then okay, that you lose. You lose a few dollars by overpaying for them, but people don't account for the opportunity cost of cash. Like, if you have the card, you don't have the cash, and you can't buy something with more upside and less downside. And the penalty, if you get it wrong, is fairly nominal. So I don't want to delve into how this is similar to buying and selling, put and call options. But if you're a financially minded person, you'll see the parallel there.
Well, there's a very short list of cards that are. there are a very short list of cards that are sure bets for holding on to, but luckily Wizards has given us that entire list, and it is the reserve list. Even cards like Great Whale, which is on it, and is useless because they printed Palinchron on the next set, which is just wholly better than Great Whale. But Great Whale is up to $3.50, a little over that, and because it is a reserve list card, you know that it will never be reprinted. That is, Great Whale, I hate to say it, is a sure bet. I don't think it'll ever drop below $3.50, but I don't think that's a great place to park your money.
You know, at the same time, talk about opportunity cost. Sure, 55% spread is crap, but $1.60 in your pocket for a card that you probably pulled out of somebody's bulk box. Don't be greedy.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you gonna wait a year to make another 50 cents to $1 on that?
Absolutely.
This is a good segue into the thing that I call using every part of the buffalo. I want to talk about more. How do you really take every single card you bought and allocate it to go somewhere? There's two ways of divvying up a collection. If the collection is nicely sorted and you can tell that there's represented by a few specific sets, like if you bought mostly standard cards, fire up Trader Tools and start filtering. I'm going to demo this on the stream right now, actually. I'm going to pull up cons. You start filtering by minimum buy prices, so you just know what to ignore. So if you just bought somebody's standard collection and they cracked a case of cons, you're going to have tons and tons and tons of random commons and uncommons. And cons is actually probably a bad example for this because there's a lot of cards I think that have upside, like the Tri-Lands. But what you're trying to do is you're trying to sort things by where they're going to go. So the stuff that's not playable and doesn't buy list goes into bulk. Bulk means the card is worth about a third of a penny. Now, that doesn't seem like a lot, but when you buy a $40,000 collection, you're not paying for that bulk at all. You're taking that and you're flipping it to the closest dealer in your area that will pay you at least $3 per thousand. I have a guy who will come visit me and pick them up for $4.50 a thousand. Why? Because he knows somebody who will buy them for $6, and that guy who buys them for $6 puts them in little 1,000-count boxes and sells them as instant collections for $10. So understanding the way that it propagates through the system will sort of help you make your decisions. The next tier up from true bulk is playable bulk. That harkens back to the stuff I said, like Return to Ravnica commons that don't buy list for anything, but you kind of think one day they might. Those are the kind of cards that you put in the forever box and break them out in a year. Or you can put them in the quarter box, like I said, and grind them while you're trading for real cards. But the point is that you're not going to waste a lot of time putting them on lists and dealing with them and like trying to sell them every week to grind another $1 out of it. Third,
cards like Watchwolf from from Ravnica proper, actually, that sells for 6 cents. So there are cards in here that if you really want to dig and find, there was a cardboard crack comic a while back.
97% spread on Watchwolf, by the way. That should tell you what you need to know.
Yeah, 90% spread on Watchwolf. There's a cardboard crack cartoon a while back where a person's searching through bulk for hours and they say, "Look, I found a Serum Visions in a 10-cent commons box," and it's like, well, how many hours did you spend finding that? There are people who have these prices memorized. You can look at bulk and be able to pull through it pretty quickly if you go through the lists of the money uncommons. I mean, whether you consider 6 cents to be a money uncommon is up to you.
So
but there are people.
Trader Tools has a preset filter for this. When you look at a list of a set, for example, cons, there's a button that says non-bulk, commons, and uncommons. And it will simply show you everything, common and uncommon, with a minimum buy price of 10 cents. And
so one of the things you can do when you are buying collections and moving a lot of cards, if that's what you want to do, make contacts of people later along the way who want to buy this stuff from you. Because if Kelly's talking about you buying 1,000-count cards for $3 and then having somebody come by and pay him $1.50 on each one, you can get to a point where, for the mere effort of lugging 80 pounds of cards up your stairs or putting them in your garage, then you're turning them around for $50 or $60 profit there for very little work on your own. Depending on how long that takes, maybe if it takes you an hour total, maybe $50 is really worth it. There are people all along the way. It's like with ships, when ships on the sea are decommissioned, they get broken down and recycled down to shipbreaking yards where every last little bit of foam gets pulled out of the upholstery on the chairs, and every last little bit that's salvageable gets salvaged,
Wow.
and the stuff that isn't gets burned for fuel. So I guess that's your time-shifted squires. I have no idea what those sell for, so maybe I'm going to eat my words as a joke of a card, but
Time-shifted cards sell for weird amounts. That's another one of those bizarro sets.
Right now, but
I'm looking it up for you. 2 cents. But here's the killer. They retail for 19 cents as TCG mid. I mean,
so maybe you're stocking your furnace with time-shifted squires.
I mean, I'll take the third. See, I won't. This is a key thing to remember. I'm not going to put this on the buy list for 2 cents, but I am going to throw it in a bulk box and get a third of a cent for it. So why am I taking an 80% hit there? It's not worth my time. And it's not worth the extra weight it adds to the package that I have to mail to ABU Games.
Yeah, and I think I did the math on it that postage-wise, if a card is less than 4 cents, it is not economical to ship. You lose money shipping it because of the weight of the card.
Yes. And I try to keep my packages like 50 cards or less. I try to only grind cards that are worth actual money, because that way if you ship them in first class, small package, thick envelope in a bubble mailer, you can send them for only a couple bucks. When you interview the next dealer, you should definitely get into, on Insider Stories, you should definitely get into shipping optimization, because for buy listing, that is huge. You lose so many margin points to shipping, and if you don't get it just right, you're going to be wasting a lot of time and money and not even realize it.
Yeah.
So then, going back to every part of the collection, Buffalo, once you've filtered out the playable non-bulk that's not going to buy list, then you separate out the stuff that buy lists for, say, a dime or more. You put those all on a list in Trader Tools, and you let Trader Tools work its magic by figuring out who's paying what for how much, and eventually you're just going to push those to buy lists and forget that they ever existed. If you probably didn't pay for those cards, you probably got them in a 1,000-count box of, oh yeah, throw this in, it's a bunch of garbage. And you might extract $10, $20, $30 from it. When I bought the collection, I think I pulled out maybe 50 cards that buy listed for $20 total, and was left with about 800 non-bulk playables. So that $20 reduces my cost basis on the collection by $20, which in this case was about... no, it doesn't make sense. Anyway, it's a non-zero amount, and it means that everything I bought is just that much slightly cheaper. Once you get past the no-brainer garbage quarter rares and stuff like that, any rare that doesn't sell for at least 15 or 20 cents, just forget about it, put it in a box, and when you get enough of them, take them to a dealer that'll pay you 10 cents a piece for them. That's the standard bulk rate. I've seen as high as 15, but again, don't get greedy. Don't waste time. Don't ship them. I mean, I live 10 minutes away from MTG Card Market here in Chicago, and I will just, every time I go in there, I'm like, Jameson, here's some bulk rares. Put $1 store credit on my account. And that adds up. It adds up and it adds up, and all of a sudden you got $20 in store credit, and you can buy a standard staple for $20. And then you can trade it, grind it, repeat the process. So once you've got past the sub-dollar cards that buy list, you start getting into the cards where you make the decision of, do I binder this? Do I put this in the wait for a higher price box, the forget about it box? Or do I buy list this anyway?
And so also a point, if you're looking for the people who are going to be interested in buying your bulk, local Facebook Magic groups and Craigslist are the great place to advertise that, and just throw up a price and see if anybody wants to buy. Also, you can say $5 per 1,000, decent quality commons and uncommons, no rares unless I made a mistake, and see if anybody bites. That's a very good way to even find out if the market exists. You do not want to be shipping bulk commons and uncommons because you make no money on it.
The only time it's acceptable to ship bulk commons and uncommons is when you pack 7,000 of them, which is approximately one of those big 5-row boxes. You pack those into a priority mail large flat rate box, which mails for $15 or $16. and you put them on eBay. You make the buyer pay for shipping, and you take what you can get. They only need to sell for about $20, $30 for it to sort of be worth your time and effort. The crazy thing that people don't realize is Priority Mail will come pick the boxes up from your home. So you don't have to drag them to the store or anything like that. Other than that, though, it's really just not worth it to ship them. Just get rid of them as quickly as possible. Lower your basis on your collection.
Absolutely.
And move along. I want the top 10% of the cards from that collection, value-wise, in my binder front and center. You know, I want to turn those... I want to do what I did with the Confidants and the Cryptics. I want to turn those into a bunch of 50-cent to $5 buy list cards with small spreads. The cards that are big and have small spreads, I will probably flip those as well, even if I think I could grind them for a little bit of extra margin. If they've got small spreads and they're high dollar cards, like, again, opportunity cost, I could buy my next collection with that cash. So if I get my basis on the middle tier, wide spread, high demand cards, if I get my basis real low, I can then trade them aggressively for buy list trash, and that's when you start making real profit. That's the rocket fuel. Well, we are coming towards the end of our time here. I want to open up to questions in Twitch. We can probably do 2 or 3, maybe 4 questions if they're quick. So if you have questions for Doug or I, please post them in chat. We'll get to as many as we possibly can. And right before we open it up to the chat, Doug, was there anything else you wanted to cover?
You know, I think we covered it. These policies and philosophies and approaches all apply to collections of any era and any size. So if you know somebody who played during Return to Ravnica Standard and Theros and wants to get out and is getting rid of their collection of their Mono Blue Devotion and Mono Black Devotion and stuff, you can do the same approach that we did here. You can use it to price things. Again, the general rules are get rid of things with a low ratio between the buy list price and the sale price, which means that you can sell them for nearly what you can buy them for at retail. Those are fast moving. You can also trade at a premium for those. Take the cards that have a high price on them but a low buy list price and trade those into cards of equal value that have a higher buy list price. It's a way to get money out of pre-existing cards you have. Everybody feels like they're winning because dollar to dollar everything looks right in the trade. And that there are avenues for every little bit of the collection. Even down to, you know, I was talking to Nick Beckvar. I had interviewed him for Insider Stories. It'll go live on Wednesday. We were at an event, and I said, well, you know, where do you get these sleeves that you're selling at your table here? Do you have a distributor? Do you buy them on eBay? He said, I don't even buy them. I get them as add-ins in collections that I buy.
Oh my God.
And I just sell the sleeves. And he's like, yeah, you want to buy a 40-count pack of sleeves for drafting? That's $2. You know, he's like, I paid $0 for it. I paid $0 for the spin down dice, and he said he gets the fat pack boxes for free, and he saves them for $1 or $2. And you know, every little part of that, every little part of that is usable. The spin down dice in particular. Here's another tip. The ones with the set symbols on them, you should look for those. Some of them command absurd prices on a buy list, which means they sell even more retail. I think Star City is paying $15 for the Torment spin down die, and they're paying a whopping $30 for the Apocalypse spin down die.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So every little bit that you find is sellable to somebody, and if not, you can use them to start a fire or learn how to throw cards. So these are definitely usable.
Not that we encourage starting fires or throwing cards or throwing fires.
Yeah, so these philosophies work for every bit of every size of collection you get, and the crucial part is knowing how much you need to sell to get it, being disciplined to sell the stuff to actually get that amount of money to where you're content either keeping what you have left or clearing it all out for cash. Kelly's lesson of if you see a good price, lock it in immediately with a buy list order so that you can sell it, because the next day you don't want your cards to decline in value by half.
Here's an example. Bloodsoaked Champion. It's up in chat right now. When I traded into them, they were $4 TCG mid, now they're $3.50. They were $2.50 or $3 on the buy list, now they're $1.65. I'm going to get hosed because I got a play set and I paid too much for them. Sad. And you can see on the screen here, we've gotten a lot of questions about this. Up at the top, you see expert rating, sell now. And actually, if you're watching on Twitch, you can sort of see secret behind the scenes because I am one of the people who can rate cards. And so I set my rating to sell it now because that's what I'm going to do. And I've gotten a lot of questions about what this is and how it works. Really quickly, we have a little algorithm that takes all the ratings that our writers and our staff members submit on a card. They can all say it's a buy or it's a sell. And it accounts for whether there's conflicting ratings, it accounts for how old the ratings are, does a little math behind the scenes, and it comes up with a really simple buy now, sell now. It's still a work in progress. We're still tinkering with it, but we had a lot of people who just said, it would be it's great to know. There's so many tools now that'll tell you what a card's price has been, and we just kind of want to be a level ahead of that. So there's no really good mathematical model for predicting where a card is going to go, but there is a crowdsourced, wisdom of the crowds thing where we asked 10 of our writers to submit their opinions. So it's not perfect. It never will be perfect, but it's a very useful model. Got some questions in chat here. Do you still think that going in on foil Nykthos before Commander 14 drops is a good call, or has that ship sailed? Do we have confirmation that Nykthos is in Commander 14, or is that just speculation?
I have not seen it on Mythic Spoiler, which is where I check to look for those things. So I'm guessing it's speculation at this point. They can certainly print it like they did with Command Tower, but I feel like there are a whole lot of lands that they would print ahead of that in a commander deck.
Agreed.
I mean, here's the other question, though. Here's the underlying question: is do you think that the price of foil Nykthos is going to jump way up once we have all the commander lists? And do you think that it's going to contain a foil Nykthos? And I'm thinking that the price isn't going to just rubber band way on up, snap right on up after people know it's not in there, because the market, unfortunately, is not, or fortunately, I suppose, is not that efficient, because the market often misses when there's an absence of a card.
Yes. So
Inquisition of Kozilek had a big time before it snapped up in a higher price after Modern Masters 2 was announced, and they said there wouldn't be Zendikar in it. I would say hold off on buying it because you could be totally blown out by a foil Nykthos being in that, but you could also stand the chance that it's probably not going to go up very much if it's not printed in it.
My opinion, I don't think it's going to be in the new commander decks. I don't think it's in danger of getting reprinted. I don't think that there's a lot that can happen to it to make it significantly more valuable than it is today. I think that it's rotating out of standard in a year, and I feel like after that happens and the price drops out, sure, buy one. And heck, if you want one now, get one. I don't think you're going to overpay for it. I don't think you're going to make money on it. This is one of those cards where if you want it, get it. If you don't, I wouldn't speculate on this. I just don't see the point. I got a question here. Do I have a preferred Chicagoland shop for buy listing? If so, what makes them a cut above? I live 15 minutes away from MTG Card Market by foot. Convenience is everything. If I'm trying to liquidate cards for the maximum possible value, I'm still going to use Trader Tools because it's just the most powerful tool at getting you max value. But if I have random stuff, for example, I had a French copy of Natural Order. No one's buy listing that. So I walked in and I said, Jameson, what do you give me for a French Natural Order? He goes, I think he said $27 store credit. Done. Now I can buy a bunch of crappy commons for my modern deck. I love Dice Dojo, which is up in Edgewater, Andersonville. Great guys up there. Really expanded their Magic selection recently. And their buy list prices are great too. Again, if you're just trying to max value, use Trader Tools. If you're not, go to the shop that's closest and most convenient to you. I don't want to harp on the Chicago stuff too much because most of us probably aren't in Chicago, but feel free to contact me after this and we can talk more.
There's also a general that you can always ask a store and you can say, this is what the buy lists online are paying. If you have no idea what you'd pay on this, would you at least match them?
Yeah, we actually have another comment here that said there was a vendor that was willing to match Trader Tools price for price. And again, if they know what QS is and they trust Trader Tools, then I think that a lot of shops will be amenable to that. So it doesn't hurt to check. last question. I'm loath to answer this because it's kind of unfocused, but I'll answer it anyway. How deep should I go on Progenitor Mimic, Hellkite Tyrant, and Zendikar lands? If you're talking about Zendikar full art basics, whatever. I mean, go deep on them if you want to have a lot of them. The time to go deep on them when Zendikar was brand new and you were cracking boxes of them.
I'll tell you why I don't like them. It's an easy thing for Wizards to do again.
Yeah.
It's very easy for Wizards to say, you know what, we're going to print another Conspiracy set or Modern Masters, and we're going to put full frame lands in there. So now you go from having Unhinged, Unglued, Zendikar, and a fourth option. Of those four, or of the three existing ones, I think a lot of people prioritize the unset frames because they're older. But past that, I mean, you're going to be throwing Zendikar up against whatever Wizards is going to do, and mark my words, they will do full art lands again. And they'll plug them into a set where maybe they feel like they need to get more people opening them because they know it's a stinker of a set. But that's going to happen again, and I do not want to be holding Zendikar basics for speculation purposes for that reason. Kelly, maybe we can pull up the prices on Progenitor Mimic and Hellkite Tyrant. I think Progenitor Mimic will always be a very fun commander card. People like the idea of clones and cloning clones, and it's one of those Momir Vig kind of cards.
Yeah, I have Progenitor Mimic up here, and it's a 125, 250 spread. Again, like kind of whatever. Like if you need one to play with, it's not going to get more or less expensive anytime soon. I'm also pulling up the foil prices here, but like realistically, I don't see any reason to go deep on them. I don't see any catalyst for making them great. It's a 6-mana creature that requires support to be good, and I don't see it seeing play in competitive formats. It seems like a commander-only card, and
it's a great commander card, but all you have to do is look at Seedborn Muse to see what people think of commander-only cards. You know, Hellkite Tyrant's an interesting card on account of stealing artifacts and a win-the-game clause. You know, it makes me think of Felidar Sovereign, which is another card that people definitely want to be slotting into their commander decks, but makes them a target. Felidar Sovereign's $10. You know, that has the instant win ability, but Hellkite Tyrant has a slower win ability, but it's a fascinating card. I will say it's from Gatecrash. That's a very old set, and
it's not that old.
You're right. It's not that old.
It's not Guild Pact.
Yeah,
here's the thing.
I was confusing the G's on that.
Here's
the
key
right.
that you're missing is that it's a mythic with a 34% spread. Like, if you see them in someone's trade binder, they're not going to say, "Well, can you do $1.22 on TCG mid?" You go, "No, it's $1," and you get it for $1, and you know you can liquidate it for 80 cents, which is fine. But like, are you going to cash buy this? No. Why on earth would you cash buy this? Ask yourself, what is the catalyst for making this card go up? And like, when is that going to happen? What are the triggers going to be before that? You know, why is this ever going to be a $5 card? Well, maybe in 5 years it will be, but I don't want to sit on a freaking $1 card for 5 years just to make $4. Like, I could compound that dollar over and over and over again every single month, and if I want to even make 5% per month, it's worth it. So I don't know. Like, it's a good cheap mythic. If you see it in a trade binder, snag it and put it in the box and forget about it.
Yeah,
otherwise,
I think it's defensive.
Whatever.
People are going to want to play Hellkite Tyrant along with Mycosynth Lattice. You know, if you play a Bosch Iron Golem deck and you want to play Mycosynth Lattice in it, and then the Hellkite Tyrant is a natural inclusion then at that point. It's an interesting card. I had honestly not had it on my speculation radar at $1.25. I think that's a fine mythic to, you know, pick up as trade-ins or throw-ins and hold on to.
Yeah. Mycosynth Lattice, by the way, a $15 card now. Which is which is amazing. So, all right. We are running over on time, actually. Thanks for the questions, guys. Thanks for your time, Doug. And,
so if you're looking for this, you'll be able to find it on YouTube. We will be tweeting out the link in several hours. You can also find it. Kelly's account is Kelly Reid, KELLYREID, all one word. It's on YouTube. You can find our previous episode posted there. You will find this one posted there. We'll eventually be switching over to a Quiet Speculation YouTube account. But as Kelly and I are trying to move fast and break things to try and get interesting products out to people to see whether you like it or not. We're still working on getting the infrastructure in there. So it wouldn't be possible without listeners asking questions, helping us out here, telling us if they can even hear us, and helping us out with the technical stuff. So thank you for listening in, and we will certainly be doing this again. If you have a topic you want us to cover, or if you have questions that you have about buying and selling collections and how to get the most out of them, please ask us in the method most convenient for you. You can reach Kelly. Kelly is Kelly@quietspeculation.com. I am Doug at quietspeculation.com. We are also on Twitter with QuietSpec, QuietSpec, one word. Should be pretty easy to find us. So we will be back again. When you are on Twitch, go ahead and click the follow thing so that when we broadcast again, you'll get an email about us. And if you're on the Quiet Speculation newsletter, you'll also get an email, hopefully telling you a few hours beforehand when we'll be doing this again. So thank you very much for tuning in, everybody. Kelly, thank you, and thank you for having me.
Awesome. Talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
Great. Bye-bye.